The house was quiet that night. Too quiet. That kind of deep, unnerving silence that makes the ticking of the clock sound louder than it should. The kind of stillness where your own thoughts seem to echo around the room, refusing to leave you. Alone, I sat at the kitchen table, staring into a cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. No steam left, just a flat, bitter pool in the mug. Outside, through the open window, the soft buzz of cicadas whispered into the dark. Summer air, thick and warm, drifted in from the porch, carrying the scent of pine and salt. This was our little bungalow in Savannah, Georgia. I had dreamed of peace and quiet when I moved here. A fresh start. A slower rhythm, away from the noise of Atlanta. I thought the coast would calm me down, that the ocean air could maybe heal the pieces of me that broke when the divorce tore everything apart. But peace didn't come in the ways I expected. The silence wasn't soothing, it was sharp. A reminder that you can change your zip code, but not your heart. The truth was, it wasn't the place that needed healing. It was the people inside, me, and my stepson, Caleb. Caleb is 19. A quiet soul, tall and thin, with hair that always hangs a little too long over his eyes. He's been with me since he was 6 years old. His mother walked out when he was just a little boy, and I married his father a year later. At 8, he started calling me Mom. I never asked him to, but when he did, I cried in the laundry room for 10 minutes. Overwhelmed with a love I didn't know I could feel. But lately, something was wrong. Off. I could feel it in the way he moved, the way he drifted through the house like a ghost. I'd catch him standing by the window, his hazel eyes looking past the trees like he was searching for something he couldn't name. I'd ask him how school was going, community college classes, new town, making friends in. He'd always just shrug. "I'm fine," he'd say, his lips curling into a half smile that never quite touched his eyes. But a mother knows. Remember? Matter how old the child is, we just know. We feel it in our bones. Then, about a month ago, things shifted. It was a heavy kind of night where even the air feels full of secrets. I remember the room welled in light from the lamp, the TV, flickering with some forgettable show, the faint creak of the ceiling fan overhead. Just the two of us. Caleb sat on the couch, legs stretched out, his hoodie bunched around his waist, that familiar quiet wrapped around him like a blanket. I was getting ready to say goodnight, to head off to bed, when his voice stopped me cold. "Evelyn." He said, "Not Mom." "Evelyn." My heart gave a little jolt. He hadn't called me that in years. I turned to look at him, and in his face, I saw something that made my chest tighten. Shame. Pure, raw shame. It's the kind that makes you want to disappear. He wouldn't look at me. His eyes stayed on the carpet, like the truth was down there and not inside him. I sat back down slowly, nerves twisting up in my stomach. I need to tell you something," he said. His voice cracked a little. "Okay," I said gently. "I'm listening." He swallowed hard, took a shaky breath. His hands were trembling slightly in his lap. I've been using your things," he said. At first, the words didn't make sense. My things. What did he mean? Like a jacket? A scarf? Maybe one of my lotions? "My clothes," he added after a pause, and then the silence between us grew 10 times heavier. Something in the way he said it, the look on his face, the way his ears turned red. I knew it wasn't about a sweater. My stomach dropped. Then he whispered, it barely louder than the cicadas outside, "Your underwear." And there it was. The truth dropped like a stone in the middle of my carefully balanced world. I couldn't breathe for a second. Couldn't speak. The room seemed to close in around me, the walls tighter than they were before. My heart pounded, my thoughts raced. I felt a wave of confusion, hurt, disbelief, anger too. All of it tangled up inside me at once. But when I looked at Caleb again, really looked high, didn't see someone cruel or dangerous. I saw a boy who was breaking, a boy who didn't understand why he did what he did, who looked like he hated himself for it. He wasn't making excuses. He wasn't trying to lie. He was just scared and drowning. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I don't know why I did it. I didn't mean to. I couldn't stop." He looked like he was waiting for me to scream, to send him away, to turn cold and angry and make it all worse. And maybe I should have. Maybe that would have been the right thing, the logical thing. But logic didn't live in that room with us. It's just pain and love. And the mess in between. I reached for my voice, my words shaky but calm. "Caleb," I said, "we're going to figure this out. But there have to be rules." His eyes lifted, wide, surprised, like he hadn't expected me to stay, to speak with. Any kind of warmth? I didn't know what I was doing. Not really. But I knew I couldn't turn away from him. Not when he needed someone to see him, to really see him and not run. The words just came quiet and uncertain, but real. "We're going to figure this out," and I meant it. "Even if I had no idea what came next. I can do what you need to do, but only in front of me that way. I know you're safe, that you're not crossing lines you can't come back from. In return, I get to live a me life I can bring whoever I want. Here end, you don't get to judge me, no questions. We both get what we need, though." Silence was deafening. Caleb stared at me, his jaw tight, his hands trembling. I thought he'd bolt tell me I was insane, but he didn't. He just nodded, a small hesitant movement, and whispered, "Okay, that was the deal the first time Etha pond. I thought I'd be sick." I sat in the edge of my bed, my heart pounding me palms, slick with sweat. Caleb came in nays, glued to the floor, and I stared athwal. Pretending it wasn't real. When it was over, he left without a word. And is it there for hours, telling myself I was doing? This for him, for us, but deep down I knew it wasn't that simple at first. It was manageable. One morning here, unevening there, I told myself it was a fuse, that he'd outgrow it, but I was wrong. It didn't slow down. It escalated. Mornings turned to afternoons, the nights. The air in the house grew thick, heavy with the weight of what we'd greed. I tried to ignore it, to focus on my freelance projects, my yoga classes, anything to keep my mind off the shadow creeping into our lives. Then came the night that changed everything. I was in the kitchen chopping vegetables for dinner when Caleb walked in. I felt high size on me, intense, unyielding. Without thinking, I slipped off my cardigan, letting it fall to the counter, my silk of my soul clinging to my skin. His breath hitched, and I turned, a teasing smile playing on my lips. "Something wrong?" I asked. My voice low, playful. He froze. He shakes, flushing, and then he turned and left. But the thrill of it, the power the control, lit something in me I hadn't felt in years. After that, it became a game. I'd let my shirt right up, leave my jeans unbuttoned. Just a second too long, each move calculated to make him squirm. It was wrong. I knew it, but it gave me a raucous sense of freedom I'd craved since its divorce. And Caleb, he started seeking me out, finding excuses to be near me, his gaze lingering longer than it should. The lean between us blurred, and I let it. Late one evening, we were in the living room, the air crackling with tension. I was reading, but I felt his eyes on Meb, burning through the pages. I looked up, meeting his gaze, and for the first time I didn't look away, neither did he. Fizzlin stretched heavy electric until I stood. My voice a whisper, "I'm going," tobbed. He nodded, but his eyes followed me's. I walked away. And I knew we were teetering on the edge of something dangerous. Then came Javier Morales. I met them at a local art gallery, a chancy introduction through a friend. Javier was 45. A sculptor with a warm laugh and a set made you feel seen. He weighs everything. I hadn't realized. I needed charming, grounded, alive. He started coming over first for coffee, then dinner, then staying late into the night. I didn't hide it from Caleb. That was the deal, after all. But I saw the change in him the morning he found Javier at the kitchen table, sipping coffee like he belonged there. Caleb's jaw tightened, Hishans gripping his mug too hard, and Ick knew trouble was brewing at first. He was skeet, sullen, watching from the sidelines. But as Javier's visits became regular, Caleb's silence turned sharp. He'd snape over nothing, forgotten dishes, a Latagos rerun, his resentment growing like a storm cloud. I told myself he'd adjust, but I was wrong. One night, as Javier Andy laughed on the couch, Caleb stormed in his face a mask of anger. Do you even care anymore? He demanded, his voice trembling. I froze, Javier's hand still on me. Nee, what are you talking about? I asked, my heart racing. You don't care about me. Caleb shouted, stepping closer. You let this guy waltz in like I'm nothing. You laugh with him, like I don't Texas. The room went still. Javier muted. Something about space and slipped out, but I barely noticed. All I saw was Caleb, his eyes blazing with harried, ignored for too long. Caleb, that's not true. I said, reaching for him. He pulled away. You're too busy with your freedom to see me anymore. Am I just convenient? His words cut deep and forth. First time I saw the damage weaden. That night alone in the living room, I realized I'd lost control. The deal's CI boundaries we'd crossed. It wasn't just about Caleb, it was about me too, and Thalif. I'd let slip away the next day. The house was a tomb, the silence suffocating. Caleb stayed in his room, the door shootened. I sat at the kitchen table staring at my untouched coffee. I couldn't ignore it anymore. Whatever we'd become, it was breaking us both. I had to fix this, even if I didn't know how. That afternoon, Ick knocked on his door, my heart in my throat. Caleb, please, we need to talk. After a long pause, the door creaked open. He stood there, eyes red, face guarded. I'm sorry, I said, my voice breaking. For everything, for not seeing how much this hurt you. I was wrong. He didn't speak, but he stepped aside, letting me in. I sat on his bed, him leaning against the wall, arms crossed. We need help. I admitted, both of us. I can't keep pretending I know what I'm doing, but I want to fix this if you'll let me. He nodded barely, and that Wasino, a few days later, we sat in Asmal office across from Dr. Alanu Rees, a therapist I'd found online. Elena was warm, her presence steady. Like she could hold the weight of our story without flinching at first. We were silent, the truth too heavy to voice. But Alina had a way of coaxing it out, as can questions that felt like lifelines. Caleb opened up slowly, a booth loneliness he'd felt since the divorce, the confusion of our deal, Thenger he'd buried. I listened, tears streaming down my face as he spoke of feelings I'd ignored. Therapy became a rancher, hard and draining, but necessary. Alina helped us set real boundaries. It told Caleb the deal was over, a mistake who couldn't continue. He struggled at first, slipping into old habits, his frustration spilling into arguments, but with Elena's guidance, he found new outlets, writing in a journal, joining a kickboxing gym. I had to face myself. To therapy forced me to confront my choice this way. I'd let my own fears drive our relationship. I'd clung to Caleb, trying to fill the void of my failed marriage, and it had suffocated us both. Letting God, trusting him to stand on his own, was terrifying. But it was the only way forward. Months later, we sat on the porch, Savannah sunset, painting the sky in pinks and oranges. Caleb looked at me, his face softer than it had been in years. Thanks, Mom, he said, simple but heavy. He squeezed his hand, and for the first time I felt hope. Healing isn't linear. It's messy, full of setbacks, but we're moving forward. Caleb's found his footing, friends, hobbies, a life beyond me. The house feels lighter, like we've shed the shadows. I'm learning to forgive myself. I accept that I can't fix everything, and that's okay. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that boundaries are love. Love for others, love for yourself. Mistakes don't define you. What you dofter does. Caleb and I aren't perfect, but we're trying, and that's enough. So tell me, what would you do if your world unraveled like mine? How would your build? Share your thoughts, and if this story hit you, like, share, and subscribe for more.